My name's Brandon, aka Bub031, and you're watching Keep It Track.
This video is brought to you by Mini Prints. Visit miniprints.com and check out all the 3D printed super detailing parts they offer. Take your layout to the next level of detail. They're the resin. Your layouts look so detailed. That's miniprints.com. Hi, I'm Go VR Go Home. Let's take a look at the newest release from Bowser. These are the 70-ton Ballast cars with side chutes. These cars retail for about $28.99 Canadian, but I've found them upwards of $35 to $40 Canadian as well. Each car comes individually wrapped in a plastic sleeve with a plastic lid, and also wrapped in a soft plastic material. Now that it's out of the packaging, let's take a closer look at the details. Bowser does a really good job of replicating these cars from the real ones. There's a lot of nice details to it, except I don't really like the plastic ballast that they put in the top. That's okay, I can fix that. The couplers are really nice as well, and the car is also really nicely weighted. The car does not have a lot of detail to it. However, it does roll really well. It is also available in a bunch of different paint schemes, such as this Ontario Northland. There's also Conrail, CNW, Burlington Northern, Alaska. There's a whole bunch to choose from. In this release, there was only 3 numbers per road name that were done. However, depending on where you shop, you might be able to find an extra 3 numbers for Ontario Northland. After taking a look at some prototype photos, I knew it was time to replicate that on these cars. Most of them are heavily rusted and very dirty. So here we go. After doing a clear coat, I decided to cover over the road number with a piece of tape on both sides.
The blue that they used is really dark, and I want to lighten it up a bit. So I'm going to start with a bit of a gray powder to lighten it. Adding to that, I also go over the top half with a bit of white powder to see if I can lighten it up even more. For the areas that I know that I'm going to be doing a thicker rust, I want to darken it a bit as well, which is mostly on the bottom half. So I'm going to blend in here a bit of a black powder just to kind of darken it a little bit more, have it more of a black base, and then I'll do the rust color over top. In this next section, there's 2 different colors of rust that I'll use. I start with a dark rust, and then I will lightly work in the light rust around that.
You'll notice that I switch between a Q-tip and a makeup sponge, every so often, I find that each tool I use gives me a different effect almost on how the weathering gets applied. I'm also a fan of using paint brushes, usually softer tipped brushes, to also apply weathering. And here you'll see that I'm doing the dirt now on the lower half, and some on the trucks as well. Just using it's almost like a brownish color, just to create that kick up, that dust that would be lower to the ground. You wouldn't see that too high up on the car. So of course you want to make sure that's done with all the sides of the car, including the top, and there's some sides on the inside there a little bit that you can do. After that, you obviously want to seal it with a clear coat. Here you'll see that I'm going to add my own ballast to the inside of the car. I'm just putting a thin layer of glue. You don't have to put a lot, but this is just your regular white glue, nothing special about it. Just like how you would do regular ballast, but only it's going to be inside the car. And lastly, I'm going to add ballast. This is the same ballast I use for my main line. It's 40% medium gray, 40% fine gray, and 20% fine brown. And then I'm going to seal it with some alcohol as well. After doing all 8 of the ballast cars, all weathered differently, I thought I was ready for a bit of a different challenge. So here's my Rapido Wide Angus caboose. I'm going to start with yellow to fade it. So it's a yellow powder. And then I'm going to dirty it up down the side, just lightly weathering it. This is not going to be as heavy as the cars, but I was very hesitant about doing it because this is one of my favorite caboose, whatever you want to call it. I love this car. But check it out. Let me know what you think of the end result. I was really happy with it, but this is just the same process, just a different looking car overall. Okay, and now it's time for a little before and after. When everything was said and done and everything was sealed and dried, I decided to put everything on the tracks and take a look. This month's announcement comes to us from Bowser Trains. The HO scale GMD SD40-2, SD40-3, and SD40-2F locomotives. These are ready-to-run locomotives with specific details. Some of the features include air hoses, windshield wipers, grab irons, coupler lift bars, operating headlights, window glass, road name specific details, road name specific fuel tanks, can motor, flywheels, nickel silver wheels with RP 25 flanges, and knuckle couplers. Some of the paint schemes that will be available are CP Rail, both with no multi-mark, and the large and small multi-mark, the Golden Beaver, the As Delivered scheme, the dual flags, also Ontario Northland in both the Chevron and Arrow scheme, and for the first time, the modernized Heritage Livery scheme. Let's take a look at one of the previous runs of SD40-2s. This one will be in the Ontario Northland paint scheme. In this segment, I'm going to finish my picture frame diorama. We're going to start by building this deck, this wood kit here. It's the very first wood kit that I've ever done, and it's from ITLA, which was included in the mini print of the month package where I got my trailer. After I popped out all the pieces and cleaned them off, I sort them out to see where everything is going to go. I start by using my Instacure glue to secure all the legs to the deck itself, the main base here. And this will dry quickly, but because it's a wood kit, it's kind of a one-shot deal. So I don't have much time to play with the actual pieces. I just have to place them and hopefully it works out. All right, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. One more to go, and then we can add the stairs. All right, so it also comes with this lattice skirting that you can put around the bottom of the actual trailer there. And you do have to cut it to size because it does give you a little bit extra. So I put the front on and measured it out to fit the other side as well, and you just cut it with a I used an X-Acto knife, but made quick work of that, and I was able to attach it, and you more or less make a little box that goes right around the actual trailer itself. All right, so there is the little box, the lattice that the trailer will sit in, and there's the deck. They also give you some extra lattice to go around the deck. And now it's time to test fit everything. I've got the skirt going around the trailer, and I'm going to put the deck right up against it where I think it's going to go. You can definitely see that I put the stairs on already. I did that off camera, didn't want to embarrass myself. But you can also see that you can kind of move the deck around and see what works best. There are 2 doors for the trailer, and that's I'll just decide once I put it on the module where it's going to go. But there's different ways that you can set this up depending on the way you are going to use it for your layout or your diorama. Okay, so we're back at the diorama. I'm going to make some gravel, and these are just a couple of the colors and types that I'm using, mostly medium. There's a light gray, dark gray. There's a little bit of brown that I throw in there as well, but the brown ballast is more of a fine ballast. And I'll also throw in some road gravel as well. This is the mixture I came up with. It's all equal parts, with a little bit of brown, of course, but we don't need too much. So what I'm going to do here first, I'm going to tape off the area. I found a nice place for the trailer. And all this ballast that I made here is going to go underneath. I want to level out the ground a little bit because it is bumpy. So I'm kind of just taping it off to roughly know where everything is going to go, because it's going to be in very specific places here. So that'll be fun. Next, you can see I'm just putting a bit of glue down. This is just your regular white glue. And this is going to go right on top of the grass. That's right, on the grass. I wasn't sure where it was going to go, but now I can definitely put a good layer of glue on there, and the ballast will stick to it still. You just got to make sure to soak it with the alcohol after, and the glue and the alcohol will mix and it will become one solid piece. I'm just lightly shaking it on here just so that I can evenly spread it out, and I will flatten the whole thing out just to make sure that it's all evenly applied. So once I've leveled it all out here, you can see I'm coming back with my 99% isopropyl and giving it a good soaking. And I'm going to put a thin bead of glue right on top of that, and it's all going to soak into the ballast, and that'll hold in place. Just going to make it a little bit more wet there, and you can see even the glue is disappearing. I removed the tape, and while it's still wet, I'm going to add my deck right on top of that, making sure it's nice and level. And then I'll also add the trailer and the skirting to the trailer, just so that everything sits nice and flat, and I can kind of push it into it a little bit. There we go, and that'll hold. Okay, so this is my favorite part. I didn't think I was going to get to do this, but here I am. I'm doing it now, and I'm having fun doing it. I'm about to add static grass. So where the Woodland Scenics grass is nice, but it does have a very flat look to it, where I need things to really pop and add more dimension. So I'm just going to put my white glue over top of it, and if there's any of the green grass showing through, at least it's going to either be green or it's going to be the dirt color. But I'm going to put my static grass right on top of this, and this is what I do on my own personal layout, just to kind of get the feel, the look of how everything's going to be, and then I finalize it with the static grass. Now there's a few different static grass applicators on the market. I use the Static King from Woodland Scenics. I trust their product, so it's just something I've always used. And I use this one on my layout as well, and it always has a great finish to it, and it's really easy to use. The only thing I would recommend is, instead of using a battery, to get the AC power adapter so that you don't have to worry about ever having a battery die on you like it has so many times with me. But I'm yet to pick one up, so a battery will have to do today. And I'm basically going to do this over most of the layout, and I'm doing small sections at a time, and I'm going to get as close as I can upwards to the track and the ballast without going onto it, because I'm going to divide the land with a much taller grass. Now, while I'm working away here, I'm also going to let you know that with the static grass that I use, it is from Woodland Scenics as well, and I use the 2mm, the 4mm, and in some cases I'll even use the 7mm wild grass. These are all available at your local hobby shop, and there's many different shades and colors and sizes that you can use. So experiment with a couple. I tend to mix a couple in with each other so that you're getting different looks every single time. Grass is one of those things where, unless your front lawn is perfectly cut and maintained, and it's going to be that short 2mm grass from top to bottom, you're going to be doing a little bit of everything in many different places. So for this here, where it's not as maintained and the grass might not be getting as much water, it might not be as bright green everywhere. But for here, it's going to be a little shorter in the front and taller in the back. I forgot to mention that I also added a bit more gravel around the actual deck, coming off beside the actual trailer, and then a trail going from the trailer just off to the side there, so it looks like there's a road or a pathway that they had to drive up to drop off the trailer here. So this part here is a little bit painful to do. It took a while. I believe I did this over 3 or 4 days, just because there's a lot, and I'm adding a little bit at a time. This is the tall grass I was telling you about. So when you buy it, you can buy it in a couple of different colors. I got a medium green and then a dead grass look, where it's almost like burnt grass. And I tend to mix them together so that you're getting a variety of color every time you pull a little bunch to stick on your layout or your diorama. When you cut them, because it comes in long strands, you have to cut them short enough that it's believable to be, longer grass, but long enough so that it doesn't look like the grass that's already down, like the static grass. So this has to be a little bit longer, but not too tall that it looks like it's bigger than your, rolling stock or locomotives. It's something that takes a little bit of practice. And I think after the time that I spent doing this, I'm not pro, but I feel pro doing it. So, and yeah, I'm still using this plain glue, this white glue. We're progressing here. We're getting a little bit further along, and I'm doing this right along the entire track side here. So we're going from one end of the diorama right to the other, and I'm filling it out as I go, making sure everything is mostly standing upright, because that's how it grows. It grows upright. And we're getting further and further along here. I'm not sure if this is day 3 yet or day 12. I have no idea, but I'm working really hard at this. I just want it all to come together. I try not to touch it or anything, at least for 24 hours after I place it with the glue, because this glue does take a little bit longer to dry. All right, and as you can see here, I'm starting to move away from the track, and I'm starting to build up the tall grass a little bit closer to me. So I don't want this as a straight line right across. I do want it as a thicker, taller grass section. There is a few pieces that snuck in there that are a little bit too long, so I'm going to go back over that with a pair of scissors and just snip them off and make sure that they're more or less the same height as everything else. For anything also that's loose, I'll come back after it's fully dried, and I'll be able to take out anything that might not have glued down properly. Okay, we are still at it. We're still adding more grass. I think this is like day 65. I think I've lost count by now, but I'm still going strong here. I still got lots more of this grass to put in, and I don't think I'm losing any type of momentum at this point. I do tend to be a little bit messier with the glue at this point, but it's all going to get used anyway, so not a big deal. And you won't even see it because it'll be covered with the tall grass. So unless you're digging through the weeds there, I doubt you'll find any glue. So I think that the overall process of putting in this grass here, I did work on it for about 3 days, but it was more or less, an hour to 2 hours here, an hour to 2 hours there. I like to exaggerate a little bit, but it was fun. I didn't mind doing it, and it turned out really, really good. I bypass a lot of this, and I'll just show you what the finished result was. It looked a little something like this, and I came right across with the grass right to the other side. I added a bit more ballast with the Mini Prince swimming pool, and I did put real resin in that. I added some Woodland Scenics bushes near the front on the left there. And of course I did the back side as well. That's important too. You can't forget about the back. And in this last photo here, you'll see that I added the Mini Prince barbecue and the lawn chairs just on the deck. And I had a Walther's Mainline boxcar that I had done some weathering and graffiti on. So I added it to really pull the scene together. I want to thank Mini Prince for all the support over the years. If you want to get your hands on some of these minis, make sure you check out miniprints.com and order yours right to your home today. I'm Go Veer, Go Home. Thank you so much for watching Keeping Track. We've got lots more in store for you, so stick around. Also, big shout out to Mini Prints. You can check them out on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and at miniprints.com. Up next, GVO After Dark.